Who is Gweilo 60?
Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60.
天上太阳红呀红彤彤哎，心中的太阳是毛泽东哎，他领导我们的。
Gweilo 60 is a Canadian YouTuber who loves living in China so much because it provides him with the cheapskate lifestyle that he has always dreamed about, the type of lifestyle he could never have in Canada. He relocated to China sometime in the early 2000s, where he went to the city of Nanning, the capital of Guangxi Autonomous Region, to meet his bride. He married her and has pretty much lived there ever since.
Shut the fuck up, Gweilo.
See, no respect. I get no respect.
He is of retirement age and spends most of his time drinking cheap Chinese beer.
Was that my beer? Just a second here. And now I got a new kind of beer here. Not quite sure what it is.
Gweilo claims to love China and Chinese culture and the Chinese people. He relies heavily on his wife to do almost everything for him, including translating Chinese to English. From what I've seen in his videos, he doesn't speak hardly any of the Chinese language.
Sonny.
Corona good, guys? How?
Yeah.
How boo how?
How?
And when he can speak it, he uses very basic phrases and has a very rudimentary grasp of how these phrases work. And also his pronunciation is terrible. He has lived in China for a long time, so you think he would at least have a rudimentary grasp of the language. Granted, not everyone is a language learning expert, and Gweilo is over 60 years old, I think, but I would at least expect him to have a simple grasp of the language because he's been living there for a hell of a long time. Anyway, why am I making this rant about Gweilo? I have recently seen a sudden surge in his popularity on YouTube amongst pro-CCP Westerners and Chinese CCP supporters. I really hate the way he sycophantically panders to this audience by regurgitating despicable CCP propaganda, therefore reinforcing a brutal, evil dictatorship that doesn't even care about its people. I can see right through this guy and know he is only saying what he says because it somehow makes him feel important, a feeling that he never had when he was living in Canada. I can understand the lure of doing a deal with the devil. The bright lights of China can be very alluring. Look at the Western world, for example, and big businesses doing deals with China and not caring about the mess they have created for the whole world to clean up. He has taken a very interesting angle with his videos, where instead of thinking about things objectively and critically, he instead just goes on massive subjective rants about his so-called true feelings, and he more than often contradicts himself in the process. Gweilo continuously bashes the Western world while praising the Chinese Communist Party. He says he loves China and the people, but really he is only making videos geared towards inciting hatred towards the West. Yes, the West does do bad things, believe it or not. For example, we are the ones who are responsible for fueling this evil, brutal CCP dictatorship's economy, just because we wanted cheap, affordable products. The Western world also allowed China to spread the coronavirus, because China and the Chinese-owned World Health Organization pulled out the racist card. Calling it the Wuhan virus is apparently racist, even though that's where the virus started. Closing borders to Chinese tourists from Wuhan is also apparently racist. In the Western world, racism is clearly a touchy subject, as we have witnessed with the present riots going on in the US. I remember one time, Gweilo spoke about homeless people in the West, and how in Canada, he sees homeless people all over the place. According to Gweilo, China has no homeless people, and he never sees any on the streets. This is laughable. I feel like he's hardly ever left Nanning, because when I was in Shanghai and Beijing, I saw beggars everywhere. Also, maybe he sees no homeless people because maybe that perfect government he always praises cleans up the homeless population. Maybe they put them in concentration camps or harvest their organs. They are certainly accustomed to doing such things with the Uyghurs and the Falun Gong. Gweilo also has a Patreon account where he collects money for poor children in China. So, I guess China does have abject poverty after all, huh, Gweilo? Gweilo really can say all the bad things he wants about the West and not face any form of punishment. He can openly protest and say how much he hates Western politics, but try criticizing the CCP and see what happens. Say anything bad about the CCP, and if you're a Westerner, you will be in big trouble. It's even worse if you're a Chinese citizen, so he's really quite lucky to be a foreigner. The Chinese government doesn't accept any form of criticism. Remember, this is a government that banned puns in the media because it was afraid the wordplay would corrupt people. They even banned, of all the things, Winnie the Pooh, because the character resembles the supreme Chinese emperor, Shill. How insecure and narcissistic would you have to be to ban a cartoon character simply because you are afraid people will make fun of you? Ridiculous. Anyway, I digress. The one time Gweilo did try to criticize the CCP, he was forced to take his video down because it went against the CCP's "we've got this coronavirus under control" narrative. The video in question was a critique of how the CCP were mishandling the coronavirus quarantine. He was forcibly quarantined when he returned to Nanning after running away from China to Thailand. When he realized that the virus wasn't just a Chinese problem, he decided to run back to Nanning. When he got back, he was forcibly quarantined in what he called a cheap hotel. The hotel was actually in a decent resort area of Nanning and was relatively cheap. He did nothing but complain about the situation and even flouted the rules, walking around the hotel and its garden complex and talking to other prisoners and not wearing his surgical mask. He has a habit of deleting his old videos if it doesn't go with what his current Chinese national audience thinks, and has deleted numerous videos where he expressed a different opinion to that of the pro-CCP narrative. Let's make no mistake, Gweilo 60 is not pro-China, but pro-CCP. He is like a blood-sucking leech and uses China to his advantage. He knows that there are a bunch of Chinese nationalists on YouTube who will support anything bad he says about the West, so he panders to them. Congratulations, Gweilo, you finally made it. You are the Wu Mao King. Your new name is Gweilo Wu Mao.
It doesn't take a lot to keep an old boy like me happy, does it?
Shut the fuck up, Gweilo.